You were told that kindness was enough. That if you just loved harder, waited longer, gave more, people would see your heart. They'd value you, they'd stay, they'd treat you with the same warmth you offered them. But you've learned the truth, haven't you? That sometimes the kinder you are, the colder the world becomes. Because here's the cruel secret no one ever told you. Your goodness doesn't protect you. It exposes you. And every time you say yes when you want to say no, every time you forgive what should have ended, every time you show up for people who never show up for you, you're not building respect. You're teaching them your silence is for sale. That's the part that stings, isn't it? Because deep down, you know you've done everything right. You've been patient, understanding, selfless. You've turned the other cheek so many times that you've lost count. And still, people treat your kindness like it's background noise, something they can talk over, walk past, or use when it suits them. The fairy tale of goodness. We were raised on bedtime stories that promised a gentle world. They told us that if you're kind, people will be kind back. If you're patient, life will reward you. If you're humble, others will see your goodness and treat you with care. It sounded beautiful, didn't it? A world where hearts recognize hearts. But that's not how the real world works. The world isn't a mirror. It doesn't reflect what you give. It's a marketplace where everything has a price, even kindness. People rarely notice patience unless it serves their convenience. They rarely value generosity until it's gone, and they only respect boundaries when they finally collide with them. You've probably learned this the hard way. You gave your time, your loyalty, your softness, believing it would be seen for what it was, a gift. But instead, it became an expectation. Your empathy turned into someone else's comfort zone. Your understanding became their excuse. That's what the fairy tale never told you. Kindness without strength behind it isn't virtue. It's currency. And in a world that trades favors and emotions like goods, you must decide what yours is worth. Because if you don't set a price, someone else will. If you don't guard your kindness, people will spend it until you're emotionally bankrupt. And they'll walk away still thinking you're the good one. Goodness does win, but only when it's strong enough to defend itself. The kindness trap. Jason learned it the hard way. He was the reliable one, the man everyone could count on. The yes in every sentence, the quiet problem solver in the corner office who never asked for credit. He stayed late, covered for others, fixed errors no one else would touch. He thought effort spoke for itself, that loyalty would be seen, that goodness would somehow circle back. Someone did notice, but not the way he imagined. When promotion season came, the spotlight landed on the loud one, the man who spoke more than he worked, who turned confidence into theater. Jason smiled, said, "It's fine. Maybe next time," but next time never came. That was the day he understood something he'd never been taught. The world doesn't reward quiet effort. It rewards visible confidence. And that's the kindness trap. The more dependable you are, the less people see your value. The more you say yes, the more invisible you become. Because when something, or someone, is always available, people stop recognizing the cost. They stop appreciating. They start assuming. You turn into the safety net no one thanks, the invisible glue that holds everything together until it breaks. And when you finally step back, they don't ask what happened. They just look surprised that the world suddenly feels heavier. Jason's story isn't rare. It's the story of everyone who believes that goodness is self-sustaining. It's not. Kindness needs to be seen. Effort needs to be acknowledged. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to show up again. It's to stop showing up and let the silence speak for you. The myth of good intentions. You can be the most loyal friend in the group, the most faithful partner, the most honest voice in the room. But if your presence carries no weight, your goodness dissolves into the background like soft music no one's listening to. People respect outcomes, not promises. They admire those who set boundaries, not those who burn themselves out for others. They remember the ones who say no with confidence far longer than the ones who say yes out of fear. It's unfair, yes, but reality doesn't reward purity. It rewards power, because goodness without presence is invisible. And invisible people are easy to overlook, easy to take for granted, easy to replace. You can have the best heart, the purest motives, but if you can't make people feel the gravity of your worth, they'll forget it. Not because they're cruel, but because the world pays attention to strength, not sincerity. So protect your goodness with influence. Guard your heart with authority, because without power, even your brightest intentions will fade quietly into someone else's noise. When kindness becomes a burden. At some point, you started believing that saying no made you selfish, that drawing a line meant you were cold, that protecting your peace meant you'd stopped caring. But that voice in your head isn't truth. It's conditioning. It's the echo of a world that taught you to be agreeable, to keep the peace, to make everyone else comfortable, even when it costs you your own comfort. You were raised to be easy to love, even at the expense of loving yourself. You were taught that silence is grace, that patience is virtue, that enduring quietly is strength. But peace built on silence isn't peace. It's quiet surrender. It's you holding your breath so someone else can breathe freely. Every time you tolerate disrespect, you sign an invisible permission slip for it to happen again. Every time you forgive too quickly, you teach them that your pain is cheap. Every time you stay in a place that drains you, you whisper that your love has no limits, even when it should. And so, little by little, your kindness becomes a burden. It stops being something you give freely and turns into something people expect, something they feel entitled to. The world looks at you and sees reliability, not value. They see availability, not strength, because you trained them to. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. You didn't lose people because you weren't kind enough. You lost them because your kindness had no consequences. Because you made it too easy to be forgiven, too easy to be comforted, too easy to be loved without accountability. Kindness without consequence teaches others that your heart is an open door with no lock, and no one respects a door that never closes. The Machiavellian Lesson. 500 years ago, Niccolo Machiavelli wrote a line the world still struggles to accept. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. He wasn't glorifying cruelty. He was describing survival, the unspoken rule that governs every human interaction. Respect is born from boundaries, not from endless kindness. In Machiavelli's world, fear didn't mean terror. It meant awareness. It meant people thought twice before crossing you. It meant your presence carried weight, a kind of quiet authority that didn't need to raise its voice. Power, to him, was never about domination or control. It was about freedom, the ability to act without waiting for permission, the strength to protect your values, not just speak about them, the wisdom to make your kindness a deliberate act, not a default reflex. Because kindness without power becomes dependency, and dependency always turns pure intentions into traps. When you're kind from strength, it's generosity, a choice, a gift. When you're kind from weakness, it's survival, a way to stay liked, to stay safe. Same smile, same gesture, different message, different outcome. That was Machiavelli's real point. In a world built on perception, goodness alone isn't enough. It must be guarded by presence, the kind of strength that makes people think twice before mistaking your heart for weakness. How power really works. Real power doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention or force obedience. It doesn't need to. True power is quiet, steady, the kind that lives in people who know exactly who they are. You can feel it when they walk into a room. They don't compete for space. The space adjusts around them. It's the boss who never raises his voice, but commands the room with a single look. The woman who doesn't beg to be loved, because she knows she can walk away at any moment. The man who says no, once, calmly, and no one ever asks him twice. That's real authority. Not born from control, but from certainty. The kind of certainty that can't be faked, borrowed, or shouted into existence. Machiavelli understood that power isn't about tyranny. It's about presence, not about instilling fear, but about embodying self-respect so clearly that no one mistakes your kindness for weakness. Because when you truly respect yourself, people sense it. They feel the edge in your calm, the confidence in your silence, the steadiness in your choices. They begin to mirror that energy. They show up on time. They choose their words carefully. They stop testing your limits, not because you threatened them, but because they can tell where your limits are. That's how power really works. It doesn't have to prove itself. It just exists. And when you possess it, even your quiet becomes influence. Your kindness becomes strength. Your presence becomes enough. Real power doesn't need an audience. It just needs alignment. And when you're aligned with your worth, the world learns how to treat you accordingly. The human nature test. Let's be honest. Most people aren't cruel. They're simply opportunistic. It's not hatred that drives them, but habit. They test, they take, they press, always looking for the soft spot in the wall. Human nature rewards the ones who push until they meet resistance. That's how the world works. So when your coworker keeps sliding his unfinished projects onto your desk, it's not because he despises you. It's because he's learned you'll handle it. When your friend keeps canceling plans at the last minute, it's not about disrespect. It's about convenience. And when your family keeps calling you to clean up their chaos, it's because they know you'll answer. You've trained them, gently and unknowingly, that there's no price for taking. No consequence for leaning too hard on your patience, no line they shouldn't cross, and in a world built on exchange, anything that costs nothing soon means nothing. It's the same with time, love, effort, and you. The uncomfortable truth is this: people treat your energy the way you teach them to. If kindness comes without limits, it becomes background noise. If your boundaries never appear, people assume they don't exist. That's not cruelty on their part. It's conditioning. The world rewards those who take, until they meet someone who refuses to be taken from. Power and love, the balance. People often think kindness and power can't coexist. That to be gentle, you must surrender your strength. And to be strong, you must abandon your heart. But that's the greatest misunderstanding of all. You don't have to choose between being kind and being powerful. You only have to stop confusing weakness with goodness. Love does not demand that you lose yourself to prove its purity. Kindness does not mean saying yes to everything just to keep the peace. And forgiveness does not mean pretending there were never consequences. True kindness isn't naive. It's discerning. It knows when to give, and when giving would become self-betrayal. It knows when to offer a hand, and when to pull it back. It's the quiet strength that says, I love you, but I love myself enough to walk away. Powerful kindness sounds like this. I'll help you, but not at the expense of my peace. I'll listen, but not if it means losing my voice. I'll forgive, but I will remember the lesson. That's what balance looks like. A heart open but not unguarded. A spirit gentle but firm. It's the kind of love Machiavelli never wrote about. Not the love that conquers or surrenders, but the love that stands tall, unafraid to protect itself. The love the world desperately needs. Soft on the surface, unshakable at its core. The cost of powerlessness. We like to believe that being good will somehow protect us. That decency is a kind of shield, but it isn't. Good people are broken every day, at work, in love, in life. Not because they lack virtue, but because they lack protection. Without power, goodness becomes an open door. And open doors invite anyone to walk through. People don't protect what they can exploit. They take from it, justify it, and move on. And the world, indifferent as ever, rewards the takers while the givers are left wondering why their sincerity wasn't enough. Every time you give without boundaries, you teach the world that taking from you has no cost. Every time you forgive without reflection, you show that your peace can be borrowed indefinitely. That isn't kindness. It's self-erasure. It's generosity without self-respect. Love without balance. Faith without wisdom. And no amount of gratitude, no compliment or occasional thank you will ever restore what's lost when you forget to guard yourself. Because true goodness needs strength to survive. Otherwise, it turns into exhaustion, the kind that empties you quietly while the world keeps applauding your grace. Kindness that doesn't protect itself isn't noble. It's the slow disappearance of who you are. What real power looks like. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't need revenge, control, or drama. It's quieter than that, steadier. It's the calm decision to walk away from anything that dishonors you. No explanations required. Power is saying no and feeling no guilt afterward. It's giving freely, but knowing when to stop when your generosity turns into someone else's entitlement. It's understanding that you can love people deeply and still choose to leave when that love stops being mutual. Power is the quiet courage to end the relationship that drains you, to leave the job that underpays your worth, to release the people who only call when they need something. That's not bitterness. It's clarity. Real power doesn't mean controlling others. It means controlling the access others have to you. Because access to you is not a right. It's a privilege. Your time isn't free. Your energy isn't infinite. Your kindness isn't cheap. When you start treating those things like they matter, the world follows your lead. People notice the difference between availability and value, between softness and strength. And slowly, your life begins to fill with those who respect both. That's what real power looks like. Calm, grounded, untouchable. Not because you built walls, but because you finally built standards. The shift? There comes a moment in every person's life when something inside quietly breaks and something stronger takes its place. It's the moment you stop chasing appreciation and start expecting respect. The moment you stop asking, "Do they like me?" and start asking, "Do they treat me right?" That's the shift, and once it happens, everything begins to change. Your relationships grow calmer because you no longer beg for crumbs of affection. You no longer confuse attention with love. You no longer keep proving your worth to people who never deserved your effort in the first place. Your career shifts too. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You speak up, take space, and act like you belong, because you finally know you do. And your peace? It returns, quietly but completely. Because you've learned the most painful truth of all. Love without self-respect isn't love. It's dependency dressed as devotion. When that truth sinks in, your kindness transforms. It's no longer a plea for validation. It's a choice born from fullness, not fear. You start giving because you want to, not because you're afraid of losing people. You start loving without losing yourself. That's the turning point. When kindness becomes powerful again. When it's no longer a weakness to be used, but a strength to be honored. The choice. Ask yourself honestly, are you kind because it's who you are, or because you're afraid of what happens if you stop? Do you help out of love, or out of fear of losing approval? Do you give from fullness or from emptiness? The answers reveal everything. You don't need to stop being kind. You just need to stop being easy. Stop offering yourself to people who treat your time like it's worthless. Stop mistaking endurance for love or self-sacrifice for strength. Because kindness without strength isn't a virtue. It's self-betrayal. And you've already paid enough for that mistake. It's time to make a different choice. To be kind and strong. To give, but never at the expense of yourself. The affirmation. Say it out loud. Type it in the comments. Write it somewhere you'll see it every day. I am powerful and kind. That's your new foundation. Kindness that protects itself, generosity that comes with limits. Love that doesn't beg to be understood. You don't owe the world your silence or your suffering. You owe yourself peace. So stand tall, speak softly, and walk with the quiet power of someone who finally understands their worth. The world will adjust.